first started writing this out, maybe I don't know if I can see, but I probably need to shift over. Is that the title that really came was Humanity Know Thyself. And the image that came out of this was the image of the Sphinx. So, what is the answer to the riddle? What is the animal that walks on 4s in the morning, on 2 at high noon, and on 3 legs in the afternoon? Man. So you got people already.
I thought the riddle was what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right. But now, one of the keys for really being able to read the sign of the times, to understand the symbols, because ancient people communicated in symbols. But even prior to that, life communicates in symbols. Because all things are symbolic of some function that is the essence of the thing itself. Which if, again, as we do with libations, we pour water, just the pouring of the water on the plant, that's not going to do anything. But it's what it represents, and our understanding of what it represents, then our consciousness then resonates with that understanding, and it creates that reality for us. And so I'm saying that because I raised a question about the Sphinx. And the key in understanding the signs of the time is connecting the dots. Because when you keep seeing different symbols and images and things occurring in your life, if you would take the time to connect the dots, it would tell you something. I know we had a class on dream interpretation, and one of the ways that you interpret dreams, and everything I talk about is related to what I'm saying, okay? Although it may seem like it's not sometimes. And so what I mean, the key thing in interpreting dreams is, number one, is to record it as much as you can. The second is to amplify it. That means if you see if it's a house and it's a dog and it's a big balloon floating in the sky that's multicolored, that's going over the trees, house, balloon, sky, trees, multicolors. Those key words, then you go back and start saying, okay, let me amplify each one of those things. What does a house mean? What does sky mean? And also, what does it mean universally, but also what does it mean to me? And as you just take each of those ideas or images and start to amplify them with other ideas, and then if you go back and look at those, connect those ideas, it will give you a wealth of information and knowledge. So the same thing is true in terms of what I'm saying about the opening of the riddle of the Sphinx, the man or humanity. Because the Sphinx was supposedly the guardian to the temple. And the temple was a temple of initiation. And all those that could not solve the riddle of the Sphinx perished and could not enter the temple. And the temple led one from the grotto to the queen's chamber, the king's chamber, and then to the heavens. Again, if we take each one of those things and just follow what it's telling you, it's then telling you what your purpose is as a human being. Our purpose as human beings is, first of all, to recognize who we are as human beings. That our true destination is to develop the divine temple and elevate ourselves to the level of the cosmos or the stars. This is the whole purpose of a human being. Anything that's not aligned to that is out of harmony with your true nature, which then creates dis-ease. And we're talking about energy. So we're talking about resonation. Things that resonate in harmony with truth generate health. Things that resonate in disharmony with truth generate dis-ease. So then the ultimate health is for one to be about the work of elevating themselves to the level of celestial consciousness, cosmic consciousness, or universal consciousness, or whatever those, all synonyms for the same thing. This is the whole purpose for our existence. This is the purpose that actually called us and created us as human beings. So.
What's
I'm going on. We're going to get to the signs of the time. Okay, so this presentation basically, we're going to deal with 4 aspects. One, I'm going to deal with some basic concepts of universal law, Genesis, and the purpose of creation. So I just kind of gave you a quick synopsis. Then we're going to deal with purpose and functional role of the human race in creation, which we touched on already. Then we're going to get specific into the signs of our times. We're going to talk about the major configurations that's happening now. We're talking about the procession of the equinoxes, the transition from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. We're talking about the ascension and culmination of Orion in Aquarius in the year 2000. We're talking about major conjunctions, major solar eclipses, major grand crosses with these solar and lunar eclipses as we move in this period of time. We're talking about the end of the Mayan calendar and the Aztec calendar of 26,000 years. We're talking about the peaking of the 11-year sunspot cycle. We're talking about the Dakota signatures of the birth of the white buffalo, and there's also signals the time for the unification and the transition into the end of one age and another age. We're talking about the transition of Pluto through Sag into Capricorn into Aquarius in 2025. And of course, we're still talking about this transitional period in terms of the Kemetic Sothic year and how it's related also to this culmination period right now. And I'm generalizing, I'm telling you what I'm telling you, we're going to go into detail. This culmination that we're coming to right now was actually initiated in this particular round during the age of Leo. This culmination is coming in the age of Aquarius. Leo is also connected to the Sphinx, right, in terms of the lion. But also, again, symbolism is connected to the will. And a central mantra that came out of, as I was going through this material, trying to synthesize it into like the essence of it, it came down to, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. You need to really think about that. Because if you're not doing thy will, you will be done. If our civilization is operating out of harmony with the grander will, it's going to be done. The only thing that's going to survive, and the only thing that's going to create or move into this new dispensation is thy will, not my will. Unless my will is thy will, which is that union. Okay. So, again, a lot of things that I say, you have to meditate on and really think about them and resonate with them. Because if you just get that point, you will have the key in terms of your smooth transition. When I say smooth transition, that even though there will be outer chaos, and it's already outer chaos, it's just going to intensify. It's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. And the degree that it's going to get worse is directly proportional to the degree that we're hard-headed and don't move in higher order. And so, there. And that's what I say here. As above, summary, as above, so below. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And again, everything that's true for the greater universe is true for us. So then, as above, what is in your head? And what is ruling your earth in terms of your body and your actions? Whose will are you expressing? So, let's move forward. There's a Swarthy Lubbock they've recently published his collected, well not collected work, but his kind of monumental work called The Temple of Man. It's a 2-volume set, profound. Swarthy Lubbock, R.A. Swaller, S-C-H-W-A-L-L-E-R, de Lubbock, L-U-B-I-C-Z. He has a number of books called The Temple in Man, Symbol and Symbolic, Number, etc. I raised that book because I basically am a teacher and I transmit information. It's not really me. I'm just taking information and transmitting it because I've read so much stuff. I can, interpret things pretty good. But I'm just passing things on. What I'm taught is our job is to build our own private libraries. And where these libraries, this body of knowledge, becomes a natural part of our culture. So your kids, your relatives, and everyone, they grow up with it as a natural thing. It shouldn't be that we go into school to try to get knowledge. Knowledge should be a natural part of our life. Because again, the key word for the Aquarian age is I know. It's dealing with knowledge. And this piece I'm sharing with you came out of Swati Lulick's book. So universal law, absolute oneness. Try to relate to what I'm saying from two levels. Hear what I'm saying cerebrally, but try to vibrate, resonate with what I'm saying in terms of intuitively, emotionally, feeling-wise. Because we're so used of talking and reading books and talking about it, but we don't resonate with the truth of what we're reading, where it actually permeates our life. And so, absolute oneness, if it says absolute, that means there's nothing else but oneness. And again, if we say absolute, there's no separation or division. There is none. So whatever your perception want to make it is not true. Everything is one. That means everybody in this room is connected to everybody else. Everything on the planet, everything in the universe is connected to everything else. So you want to understand how the Dogon understood the operation of Sirius B is because they went into deep, constant unification of the cycles and resonated, and that in knowledge will reflect on your own mind when you unite your mind with universal mind, because you become one with it and you know everything that exists in it. Many of these things are very difficult for us as conditioned beings in the Western world, because the Western mind is materialistic and separative. And one of our greatest undoing is that we still say we're African-centered, but we have not reconditioned our consciousness to truly be African in the sense of its unitary understanding, its multidimensional understanding. That simultaneously as we sit right here, we're connected to other dimensions, other planets, and other universes right now, simultaneously. And the only thing that keeps us from interacting is our own consciousness of not accepting this and not operating from this level of consciousness. And even as I say that, you say, yeah, that's deep, but it still doesn't really resonate with your being. And so if you truly reflect on what is being said, to eventually that, it's like savoring a good meal. I tell you all the time, when you eat, I always say when I was going to junior high school, we used to have a little cinnamon roll. The center of that cinnamon roll, right? Eat all around it. You wait to get that center, that'd be the last piece, right? And just when you was eating it, just how, you felt that. That's the way you're supposed to feel now. You're supposed to absorb it and get into it to where you savor it. And when you do it like that, you feel it. So you know it by you can just bring the feeling back to yourself and you can understand. Where if you try to remember all the details, you may not remember all of that. Just like people went to another level when I said that. All those who experienced that went to another level when I said that. Because of the emotions that was connected to it. That's why when you study, just don't study something or read something intellectually. Get into it where you try to feel what is being said or what they're trying to transmit to you. Or in life, it's the same thing. Just don't go through life just interacting with life. Get involved with it where you actually can feel and interact at a deeper level. This is what makes life so beautiful. And say stop and smell the roses. You have beauty all around you, but we don't take time just to savor what's the beauty of what's all around us all the time. So anyway, let's look at this. It says, all is one and everything is within this absolute. Okay, so everything is connected. This is essential that we understand these basic concepts, because as we then go in and look at the details are all operating in the context of absolute oneness. That means especially everything that's happened in the celestial order is in order with this oneness. Even in our rebelliousness, we're still within the context of the oneness, except we are generating movement toward it from the negative. Because when do you call upon God? When you're in trouble, when you're sick. You get me through this, I promise I ain't gonna do that no more. Then when you get well, and little by little, you just gotta get away from that, and then something happens to put you back to keep you remember. But then just think where you would be if you stayed there. You could just then ascend to other levels of creative expression. So next, all in the universe is made up of alterations and inversions. Inversions means flip it on the other side. Yes. So all in the universe is made up of alterations and inversions, which are the manifestation of life. So life manifests through alterations and inversions. And why we bring this forward? Because we're talking about cycles of time, beginnings and endings, right? Rising and falling. So we're talking about the alterations and inversions. Life is continuous creation. That means somebody goes, what about white people? What about white people? Well, it's absolute oneness. And everything is within the absolute. So everything has a role to play in the journey. But then everything has a time and a season. And when that season's up, it's time for something else. And so when the season's up and you're still trying to act like it's winter and it's summer, you're not going to be very comfortable, and vice versa. So next it says, and life is continuous creation. The original scission is the separation of the ungraspable unity. So it says in the unity, that oneness, that all absolute, we can't grasp that. We can understand it conceptually, but we can't really grasp it because it's beyond us. But we can understand it in terms of realizing it. So the thing that caused creation to be was the original separation that created the alterations and the inversions. So this is universal. This is setting the stage for these other smaller cycles. The whole universe is living. And I highlighted living because everything has energy or life. Everything. So that means if everything is living, everything can also communicate. It's alive. That means the planet is alive. Think about that now. You walking around on this planet, it's alive. It's a body. It can feel. It can respond to negative and positive. So how you treat this entity? They're talking about how the Western contemporary lifestyle is so toxic. It was some incredible number of species are becoming extinct every day. They're saying we're moving to a plateau to where once we cross this threshold, the variety that makes up the global ecosystem will no longer be able to sustain life. And we need to, again, really think about this in terms of then, if this is true, then what are we doing in our lives to reverse this? Because if we don't, Malcolm said what? If you're either the part of the problem, you're part of the solution. It's either one or the other. So it said the whole universe is living, and all of life's phenomena contain a concrete element of alteration and an energetic element of the same nature as this concretization. What is that talking about? It's saying that Every phenomena contains an element of this alteration. That means these changes. So every element is a product of the change that created it. So that means you're a product of this phase in the alteration, right? We're talking about this alteration. Life is alteration, sine wave, right? So every point along these changes represents a phase in the alteration. So that particular point is a manifestation, becomes concrete in the moment. So that moment of what's concrete contains inside of it the element of what it represents in that phase. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're saying your life. Take any year within your life. The things that occur within that year of your life represent a part of your whole life. There's an essential element in, I would say, your behavior, the themes, the qualities that represents the changes or the phases you were going through trying to get through your life. So what I'm talking about in terms of, what I'm really getting to is, right now at this point in time, we're talking about signs of the times. So inside these various phenomena that's happening at this concrete time is the element of the role it's playing in the alteration, in the transition, in the inversion. And we're going to get to the critical element in terms of understanding the energetic element. We have a tendency to just look at external phenomena and understand it has an energetic element. Every concrete thing has an energetic element. It represents an energetic phase of something, which then becomes this symbol, this image. So, this is a key to mythology, because in Kemet they use various animals, and to understand why they use those animals, you have to understand the role that that animal played in the whole environment. So if it uses a jackal, you have to understand the nature and the function a jackal played in its environment with all the other elements in its environment. Because it's an ecosystem, and each thing within the ecosystem plays a functional role in the whole system. So the particular element, the particular entity that was chosen because of the function it plays within the whole ecosystem. Just like your head plays a role to your body. Your hand plays a role to your body. Your feet play a role to your body. Your heart plays a role to your body. So the heart has a function. So the heart itself, you just take the heart out and you can say, okay, it pumps blood, but it's the function of the heart that gives you the clue of the significance of heart. Everything has a heart. Everything has feet. Everything has hands. Everything has a head. Because those functions are necessary for it to be a living entity. That's the foundation of the macrocosm or astrology, categorizing the macrocosm in its various elements of head, neck, shoulders, heart, stomach, digestion, reproduction, mobility, structure, stability, place where you stand, all these things. They're functions. Again, I'm saying this because we then look at the symbolism. What is the functional element that the symbol or the event represents? And that's within the context of the phase. Okay. So universal, we talked about the alteration, so you got polarity, right? Nothingness to allness, dark to light, energy or light to matter, potential to actual, one to many, idea to realization, unconscious to conscious, involution, evolution, beginning, end, macrocosm, microcosm, celestial, terrestrial. These are the various alterations. And within the movement from nothing to something, that polarity creates a vacuum or potential, right, that generates movement. Movement is Genesis. Genesis is just movement toward something. So life is moving toward a destination or an end. That destination or end is to reunite with itself. But for you to become from unconscious to conscious. It's like if you're doing something, say somebody asks you, well, how do you do that? You don't know. And you're not a master of that. Although you can be excellent at doing it. If you don't know how you're doing it, you haven't mastered that. And so those who have mastered it can then also teach others, share and break it down in terms of why they do it, how they do it, where does this come from, all these kinds of things. Consciousness. So we're saying that we have unlimited potential. So the whole purpose of us being here is moving to fulfill that unlimited potential. I'm saying this, and again, yeah, I heard that, but the point is, in your daily behavior, are you operating from the reference point of fulfilling your potential? So when you eat food, when you get up, how you sleep, how you interact with people, whatever work you've chosen, is that work relative to you fulfilling your potential in life? Why do you do what you do? That's the question. Why do you do what you do? I was going to pick my brother out. I was asking him the other day, I was saying, why are you putting your pants sagging, man? You know what I'm saying? What is that related to? What's that related to? I mean, if there's a rational reason relative to excellence or something, hey, I can go for that. But what is that really related to? I wasn't trying to really get on this case. I was just trying to raise the question, why are you doing that? What is it relative to, are you doing that? I know I was going to get on the kids about their diets and stuff they eat, saying, read them labels. You can't spell it, you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. It tastes good. Poison tastes good, so that don't mean nothing, right? But the point again is our behavior. I'm just, playing around with them. But I'm not playing with them. But the point I'm saying is, in our lives, what's the reference point from which we're functioning? And see, this is becoming more and more critical because the times are saying, if you're not functioning from a higher perspective, you're going to be spinning out of order because you ain't in tune with the gravitational pull of this higher order. So you're going to start crashing the stuff because you're out of alignment. So you're going to be crashing. And it's going to come various ways, depending upon what your weak point is. It can be your physical self, it can be your emotions, it can be your mind, it can be your relationships or whatever. Stuff going to be crashing. And just look around you. It's going to be accelerating in terms of people crashing and just tripping on what's going on. All right. All right. Pharaonic thought, the deep thought of African sages. The concrete aspect can be grasped through cerebral conception. You can think about it. The energetic aspect is graspable through the other state of consciousness, that is the intelligence of the heart, the source of intuition. And one of the critical ways to develop your intuition is developing a reflective state of mind, where you start reflecting on what you're doing. You just ain't all involved in what you're doing, but you step back in your mind and observe yourself or observe life and look at, well, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? What is the reason behind what is outwardly being done? Reflective thought, reflection. That's the only thing that makes us human, is that we have the capacity to reflect. And then the greatest thing is meditation. Developing the capacity to shut down or withdraw your senses from its outer focus, where you ain't worried about physical, I want to eat some food, or I feel tired, or, I'm uncomfortable, or I'm agitated, or emotional, I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, or mental, I'm thinking about my job, my money, my cars, cleaning my house up, or I don't have a car, I wish I had somebody, whatever. All that thinking is really like, in one sense, of the lower concrete world. And can you take some time to withdraw your attention, your interest in that, and redirect your interest to your inner self? If you don't take the time to redirect your energy relative to your inner self, is related to how you value it. If you don't value it and it doesn't have no value, then it doesn't value you, because you're not valuable to it. So you're going to get in kind. It's not going to manifest itself to you. It's not going to aid you, first of all, because you're not giving it attention, and attention gives it energy. And energy is life. So if you don't give it any energy, it will die. will really be latent. It can never die. It's immortal. But the point is, if you want to make it grow, you can consciously cultivate it by giving it energy. And that means giving it attention. It's like your children. If you don't give them any attention, they become derelicts. If you got flowers, you don't give any attention, they're going to die. If you're in a relationship, or if you're doing a job, if you don't go to your job and give no attention, you're going to have no job. So the point I'm trying to say is, what are you giving your attention to? How do you spend your time? The character of pharaonic thought is to speak of light in such a way that its definition embraces all aspects and all fields at once. Think about this. The character of pharaonic thought is to speak of light, and the light is only one subject that we chose to talk about. It could have talked about dark, it could have talked about wet, it could have talked about one, it could have talked about two, but it's giving the illustration of how our ancestors thought. And it's the thinking that creates our reality. And so if we're talking about resurrecting African greatness, if we don't re-embrace African deep thought, no way we're going to resurrect African culture. And if African culture was the foundation of world civilization, that means world civilization is in trouble. Because African people are the seed people. We're the prototype. We're the foundation. So if the foundation is off, how the rest going to be strong or in order? So it says, it embraces, the definition embraces all aspects and all fields at once. That's why you can take one of those symbols and you can apply it to nature, you can apply it to stars, you can apply it to temples, you can apply it to history, you can apply it to people, you can apply it to food, you can apply it to plants, to gems, to stones, to colors, to music, to dance, because it represents a universal aspect or function that's connected to the one in all things. So once you become conscious of this way of thinking and this thought, then you can know all things. Because all things are a function of this one. So you become multiple genius. Because you just transfer the same understanding from one field to another. Because you don't get caught up on the outer definitions. You get tuned in to the common functions. That's the same thing. But you got to get the understanding of these universal principles. That's also one of the ways they keep us in prison, because they keep people in the specialized fields and they don't develop that unitary type of thinking, so people can't see the whole picture. If you turn the TV, if you went home and turn the TV on today or tonight, and every channel started to express to you what's really going on, how would you be in the morning? Your whole attitude would be different. Once you gain this kind of deep thought, your awareness is like that all the time. When you see things from the deeper aspect. So it says, by considering the universality of the function without decomposing it into particular appearances. This is the spirit of myth. And for our African sages, all explanation is a myth of the spirit of a function. This is critical because when we start talking about symbolism, white buffaloes, Aquarian, the water bearer, the fish, you're talking about the end of time, the beginning of a new time, the celestial waters. You're talking about major conjunctions in Taurus, fixed crosses with Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo. Those are mythological messages that give you universal understanding, if you understand what it's saying. You say, oh, that's just some astrological stuff. No, it is a form of explanation of function. I'm trying to convey this to you so hopefully you'll have a greater appreciation and value to the symbols that are exposed to you. It's just not some stuff people made up. This is the actual operation of the universe. And the universe created you. So it means that it will directly impact you. Because everything in the universe is reflected in you. So you guys need to really understand where Taurus is in your chart. You don't have an astrological chart, get a chart done, understand where Taurus is, because it's going to be major, major. Then planetarily, Taurus, I have possessions, money, material, major, transformation, upheaval. Taurus is earth sign, earth, major, upheaval. This seems strange to us because of our mental decadence. It prevents us from suspecting even the possibility of an intelligence of the heart, which is also an intelligence of the world. What we're saying, the intelligence of the heart, the intuition, is the intelligence of the world. If you tap into your intuition, you have the intelligence of the world. Any problem that you have, if you learn to tune in to your intuitional body, it can give you the answer to it. The problem is we get to do whatever. And you're young, so you're responding to that. And then once you get older, if you don't go back in and clean that stuff up, you carry that negativity around with you and it pollutes yourself. Develop your mind. So you got your physical, you got your mental, your emotional, and you got your mental. Develop your mind through the study of higher knowledge. Now the way through truth is perception. Do you perceive things, or do you just walk through life? You know, I'm walking through here, I don't even perceive what's here. Something's on the floor, I don't perceive it's there. You know. So are you perceptive? You know, do you condition yourself to not be perceptive so that you don't have to deal with things? If I don't see that on the floor, I ain't got to pick it up. You know, if I don't notice my clothes is dirty, I ain't got to go clean them. If I don't see them dishes over there, I don't have to do anything about it, you know. So I train myself not to pay attention to it. You know, I see somebody with a heavy load, if I perceive it, I need to go try to help them. But if I don't act like I see it, then I don't have to go do it. You know, and then there's other things that evolves up in terms of life, you know, in terms of, I know I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to act like I didn't perceive that so I can go do it. So then examination, because when you perceive, then you should examine. So do you examine things? That's why, again, I go back to, I was talking to Erica. I'm trying to keep getting her to examine what she's eating. I said, examine that package. Look at that. What's in there? Do you perceive and examine? Examine it. Then she started examining, like, wow. Next is reflect on it. Do you say, I start thinking about it now? I examined it. Now let me think about what I have examined. So when you start reflecting, that takes you to knowledge. A lot of people perceive things, a lot of people examine things, but a lot of people don't reflect. Because once you start reflecting, you might have to make come to some conclusions here. So when you come to knowledge, then you go to understanding. From understanding, you gain wisdom, and from wisdom, you arrive at truth. The midpoint between ignorance, the lower, and the higher is knowledge. And understand, the age of Aquarius is the age of knowledge. This process is a process that has to become a universal process. And this is something that the society does not promote. They don't get you to perceive and examine things, because if you did, then you would reflect on them and say, wait a minute, this is crazy. And if I understand that, then it wouldn't be wise for me to do that because it's violating truth. Then become a deep thinker. Do you think deep? A lot of people don't want to think deep. You know, it's so much junk in their mind to start thinking deep, they get, it creates, it's like hard. So they run from it. But you got to fight it. Study the sacred and esoteric sciences. This is kind of what we're going through now. Understand, we're talking about astrology, astronomy and astrology. We're saying inside astronomy, there's a heart in that activity that's the essence of something that gives you meaning. So start understanding that. We can get into number, because we talked about what unity was 1. We talked about the separation was 2. We talked about the new activity, which is a reconciliation, which is 3. We talked about manifestation, which is a 4. We talked about thinking of mind, which is a 5. Then we talked about a love or value of something, which is a 6. Then we talked about moving to a level of perfection or higher consciousness, was a 7. Then we talked about moving through transformation, regeneration, which is an 8. Then we talked about spiritual awareness, which is a 9. Then we talked about reuniting with unity or God, which is a 10, which is a 1. That's number. Then you get into geometry, we talk about patterns, right? And these different 90 degrees, 180 degrees, that's geometry. Then we're talking about the harmony or disharmony, which is music. And then we talked about astronomy, celestial patterns. We're talking about mythology and symbolism, which is rhetoric. Then goes into language and the meaning of those things. And then we go into logic, cosmic logic. These are the sacred sciences. And then regular meditation and contemplation. This is probably the essential thing, one of the key essential things that everyone should practice, some form of fashion. You can just take quiet walks. You know, you don't have to go, ideally though, if you need to practice, and you can do it anywhere. You can be in your car, and you can just go in. You know, you can be wherever. You can, if you practice it, you can go into it at any point in time and tune in to your spiritual self. And so, in conclusion, relative to, we need to calmly prepare for disaster preparedness, to survive social breakdown of food, water, power, transportation, medical aid. We need to identify people in our community. We need to create a network of people, you know, that have different skills, that we know that we have some contingency way. I mean, we got bicycles. What if the gas breaks down and you can't get around? What you gonna do? You got a bike, some skates, skateboard, something. You know, you need to, I mean, seriously, because when it really comes down to it and you don't have it, it's going to make all the difference in the world. I mean, because, you know, back in the day, we could skate all across town. That was our basic means of transportation. So, develop a family and community support network. If something happens, just talk about it. If something happens, what are you going to do? If it's during school time, how, and you can't get to the kids, what's the plan? If there's a family or a neighbor or somebody that lives close that they can all meet at, or say if you get someplace you get isolated, where's the check-in points at? You know, if I'm not at home, and we have to get away, where are we going to be at? Where can I find everybody at? We should talk about that. Because when it happens, it's too late. But if you just take some time to think about that, who's the most central person? If you take where everybody stayed, where is point A, second, if they're not there, they're there, or whatever. We just need to really talk about these things. And develop a plan. Develop a capacity to tune in to the intelligence of the heart, listen to and have the courage to follow your intuition. Because if you tune in, just like the animals, be aware of stuff before it happens, you start seeing them bugs and stuff, and dogs start migrating around, you better get behind them and go with them. Like, hey, wait, birds ain't singing. Hey, I ain't heard no bird in 2 days. Like, we better see what's up here. But if you tune in, you will be where you're supposed to be. Because see, some of us are going to stay in the belly of the beast. Some of us are going to be in the middle of the earthquake, going to be in the middle of it, so we can help other people. That's going to be a part of our work. There's going to be others who will be moved to move and go someplace else. Just like during slavery, there were those of us that volunteered to go into slavery so that we could maintain and carry that seed into slavery. Somebody was talking about how there was this elder brother that was involved in taking many trips during the slave trade because he brought a certain type of energy that helped preserve the spirit of those people and allow them to make it over and continue the life over there. So everybody ain't, so if you tune in, your spiritual perception will move you where you have to be. And again, understand that energy cannot be traded or destroyed, and it changes form. So even though your physical body ain't here, you're going to continue on and come back, next cycle. So if you even go there, I'll tell you, you're not living to die, but we have to eventually, when you move beyond the fear of death, you become totally free. You become totally free. That's when you can really be productive. And if you listen to Malcolm and Garvey, all these kind of people talked about the price of freedom is death. But they ain't talking about dying, but they're talking about getting beyond the fear of death. And that's also true in your personal situations. You have to be willing to lose something to gain it. If you can't stand up and say that this, if it ain't happening like this, then forget it, be willing to lose it, then you ain't going to have it. Because then you're going to start compromising to such a degree that you're not going to have the real thing. Because if it's real, it's going to be real. So, in summary, I want to read this passage from this book. Opening to the Spirit. Take all off. Anybody got a full tape? Caught everything? Marvin, you got it?
I got you, God. I got you covered.
Okay, cool. You got to have a division of labor, or it ain't gonna work. This is a sister, Caroline Shola Ariwa, Opening to the Spirit. She's a yoga, a spiritual guide and master of yoga. She really did an excellent book of dealing with the chakras and the seven. The chakras really represent the seven seals. So you talk about the day of revelation, the end, talking about the opening of the seven seals. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about opening up our seven chakras and becoming illumined. That's what they're really talking about. So this interesting is very appropriate. The afterword is called Sankofa. The new millennium, looking back to progress. She says, as I write, the year 2000 is fast approaching. The new millennium brings with it much expectation. In the yogic tradition, this present time is known as Kali Yuga, a time of turbulence. To the Mayans, we are in the 13th heaven, a period of much change. The Mayan calendar points to 2012 as the end of the current age. The Egyptian Dembrebrah zodiac points to the year 2004 to 2012, when due to the precession of the equinox, the Piscean age will end and the Aquarian age will be welcomed in. This period in time holds a potential to be a major transition. The majority of the world's cultures and spiritual traditions predate Christianity. The new millennium celebrates the 2000th birthday of an enlightened being. Christ, of course, was not the first enlightened being. Guests at his birth include wise men from afar conferring gifts. Humans lived many thousands of years on this planet before this auspicious birth. Christianity is relatively young. As we celebrate the Christian 21st century, if we are wise, we will not forget the knowledge of times past. The Ghanaian Sankofa symbol is a bird that looks back in order to progress. We've just spent this day looking back so that we can move forward appropriately. The concept of Sankofa recognizes the need to evaluate and build on the past in order to determine a prosperous future. As humans, we are young. We have not been on the 4.5 billion-year-old planet long. In these times of spiritual and planetary poverty, we must all look back because we need as much wisdom as we can get to propel us forward. We must remember that the future is not a definite reality that awaits us. It is for us to consciously create the future together. We can create whatever future we want by how we work together to make it big. So then the question is, we've never sat down and said, what future do we want? If we don't sit down and talk about what kind of future do we want, we can't create it. Because if you go into Memphite theology, the creation came about through identifying the parts of our two named parts of the self. If we don't name the parts, if we don't identify the parts of ourself, of our way of life, of our culture, it will not come into being. So we're still constantly reacting to somebody else's identification of reality, as opposed to us sitting down as African people in the diaspora, African Americans who make up a particular unit, and define what is ourselves. We need to identify these things. This makes me come into a commercial break. Because on Thursday nights here at Christ Unity, 7 o'clock, we're having a meeting and we're designing a prototypical, or I would say a classical rites of passage program. And we're saying if we took a blank piece of paper from the best of our thinking, if you had to be trained, if you were now yourself, and you want somebody to train you the way you would love to be trained, knowing what you know now, what would you like for somebody to take you through? If we can develop that, then you know what type of beings we can create. So Thursday nights here at 7 o'clock, we've been meeting probably since when? July? So to create this program, And so again, I'm saying that because we have to define how we want the future to be for it to become that way. And what we're trying to do is make it where it's a collective effort, to where it's not just Christ unity or whatever, it's anyone who gets the word and has the eyes to see and the ears to hear to come through and help. And really what my goal is to really create an initiatory process for not only young people, but it's going to eventually, we want to do a whole continuum from birth to transition. Because to have initiation and rites of passage, you have to have also then a society of adults that are united to bring those youth into a society. Rites of passage is about bringing youth into the society of adults. So the question is, where is our society as adults? You know, we come together, how many times we all see each other? But we still don't sit down critically and define the world the way we want it to be. Because in one sense, we don't believe we really have the power amongst ourselves to make it be. So this is a commercial break, but it's more than that, you know. So it says, it is no coincidence that this time is a major celebration in the Western world, a very place where a lot of power is held. Solar plexus energy and change is desperately needed. The 21st century offers the opportunity for maturity. The major transition point in the chakra system lies between the solar plexus and the heart chakra. The planet and her people are on this edge. We can choose power or transformation. Humanity needs to grow up and reach maturity. We need to leave the teenage years of the solar plexus and embrace adulthood, the heart chakra. The new millennium needs to act as an initiation, a 21st birthday party where humanity comes of age. Many years ago, Swami Vishnu Devananda said, East is becoming West, and West is becoming East. The spiritually advanced nations seek technology, while the technology-developed nations begin to seek spirit. Our continued development would be best ensued if we try to balance technology and spirituality, utilizing all the wisdom that we have amassed through the ages. It said they defined 3 stages of evolution: magic, religion, and science. This is in some of Fraser's works. She said we need to harmonize or synthesize those 3 things. Each chakra governs a specific evolutionary time in human history. The root chakra relates to the age of magic, when people live close to the elements and move with the earth's rhythm and cosmic laws. The age of religion is stimulated by the sacral chakra. People saw that which was sacred and spiritually uplifting. During the current age of science, ruled by the solar plexus, man tries to exercise his power over nature in a manipulative rather than a harmonious way. Scientists have created the nuclear bomb, put man on the moon, exploring the alternative to Earth because we have created chaos here. And Dolly, the genetically engineered sheep, has been manufactured. What are we now capable of is frightening. The fear is not technology itself, but its divorce from sacred and universal law. I pray that this present era of quickening the change will bring a major shift in the collective soul consciousness of humanity, moving us from the power struggles and scientism of the solar plexus and grant us rebirth into a collective heart chakra of compassion and love. This will truly turn us into kind humans. This shift to the heart chakra will mark the 4th evolutionary stage, a stage of union and into a collective heart chakra of compassion and love. This will truly turn us into kind humans. This shift to the heart chakra will mark the 4th evolutionary stage, a stage of union and technology. Research shows that crystals are capable of storing information. Crystal technology has transformed our lives. We tell the time with crystal clocks and watches. The reliability and precision are well known. It's also interesting when you go into deep states of meditation, deep breathing, you actually create crystal formation in the cerebral spinal system that actually enables you to attune to higher cosmic vibrations and radiation, or radiations or emanations. So you actually yourself a crystal set. And then as you intone that breath and go through the meditation, what are the thought forms that are resonating in your mind? That thought that's resonating in your mind is the tuner that then tunes you in to that perspective in the cosmos that then allows you to bring in a corresponding energy or information. And as you work the physical body, your nutrition and all that, you refine your system. It becomes more sensitive. As you tune your emotional body, it becomes more sensitive. As you elevate and develop your mental body, it becomes more sensitive. And then that creates a pure crystal that then allows you to resonate with pure light. Okay, and finale, healing arts, complementary medicine, and spiritual awareness are all growing in popularity, bringing about greater knowledge, balance, and harmony on the physical plane. The divine nature of life on earth is known to an increasing number of people. We are recognizing the importance of embodiment and grounding spirit. As we thank the Creator, show respect to our ancestors, and listen to the elders, we will advance rapidly in our knowledge. We are moving into global heart chakra energy. Some people have been here for a long time. Some are just arriving, and many are yet to come. But like any path, be it in the bush, the city, or the collective psyche, as it gets well trodden, it becomes easy for those who travel behind to advance. We are in a time of ultimate change. You and I together are creating a path on which our children will follow. We can follow the path laid down by our sacred ancestors. Open the spirit, open wide. You have nothing to fear. Let your love shine out and touch those around you. Shine your bright light and make a difference in this world. You are a divine human being blessed with the power of creation. As we stand at the crossroads of major change, let us unite the ancient with the new, the subjective with the objective. Let us recognize our errors and not be afraid to apologize and embrace that which was once rejected. Following the principle of Sankofa, let us go forward carrying the wisdom of times past. Thank you.
Can you explain the difference between like reading your sidereal chart versus the tropical chart?
When you're talking about the sidereal chart, it's basically in sidereal astrology. If I'm a Sagittarian in terms of tropical. Now I'm about 8 degrees. So basically, we're actually sidereally roughly about 27 degrees back. So if I took 27 degrees, I probably would be about 19 degrees Scorpio. Okay. So then, now this is the issue. First thing is, astrology is defining your birth, which means that either one of those systems have to be identifying the same thing. So if they're legitimate, they will arrive at the same conclusion from a different perspective. So when I went to a point in time I didn't do charts. I couldn't do them because I was tripping off of telling people the wrong information. Some people I knew said, oh, tropical is wrong, and you got to do sidereal and all this. So I started to look at it. And what I looked at is, number one, there are a number of elements that are the same. Relationship of all the aspects are the same. A lot of times your ascendant, your patterns are the same. Your planetary appearance is the same. And then in some situations, the sign may be the same. But the point is, when I started looking at it, what I saw is they say that the sidereal chart really relates more to your soul. And the tropical chart really relates more to your personality. But you can see your soul through your personality, because the personality is the vehicle for the expression of the soul. And unless you fulfill and develop your personality, your soul can't express itself. And if you're going to express your soul, you still got to do it through your personality. So it's just looking at the same thing from different perspectives. So the difference is then you just have to do the individual chart. You do the individual chart, you read it and see what it says. What is the message of the chart? And again, probably 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a similar theme or message, but just from a different language.